What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel. Today, I've got a special guest, maybe the guest I've been most excited to talk about since we launched the show, which is former baseball player, former Dodger turned professional artist, Micah Johnson. Micah, thank you for taking the time today. How are things in your world?
They're good, man. No complaints. I was out in LA, enjoyed the sun a little bit. Now I'm back in the snow, but everything's great.
Good. Good. Well, I mean, as we're going to get into, your life, despite being just 30 years old, has kind of taken a path that is unique that very few folks, I imagine, would have guessed. So, born in Indiana, played baseball at Indiana, ninth round pick in 2012, opening day roster in 2015. You're traded to the Dodgers, traded to the Braves, handful of teams in 2017. And now you're a professional artist working to promote social justice with a show in the Art Angels Gallery in West Hollywood. So I've got a ton of questions for you, a ton I'd love to hear about. And so I guess maybe the easiest way to do this would kind of just start at the beginning. And so I'll start with this. It's a question that I've always been fascinated by when talking to athletes. For you, when did you know that baseball was not only the sport for you, but also one that realistically you could have had a career in?
From the day I picked up a bat, when I was 3, I started playing. Probably when I was like 4 or 5, I knew the whole entire Chicago Cubs lineup and listened to the games on the radio. And I was hyper obsessed with it. So from a young age, I said, this is what I want to do. There was never a doubt. Like I never said like I should do something else, or I like this too. You know, like it was always, this is what I do for a living. This is what I'll do. I don't know. I'm hyper focused type of person.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it was interesting when I was reading your backstory. I mean, you're a crazy athlete. Like speed, athleticism was always a part of your game, and you grew up in Indiana. Like basketball is the sport that it feels like as an extreme athlete in the state of Indiana. I read a story somewhere that you played one-on-one with Greg Oden and won. So I mean, talk to me how you get to baseball and not basketball.
I'm short. I mean, I'm like 6 foot, so like, just never was a thing.
Okay.
I never had that. I was always little.
Yeah.
And I was just hyper focused at baseball. Like literally, I think I probably did some kind of baseball activity every single day growing up. Like, just loved it. Didn't love anything else like I love baseball.
Now, is the Greg Oden story true? I think I saw this on a bio somewhere.
I haven't heard that in years, man. Like, I have no idea what that came from. Like,
okay. I'll have to check my sources. It was like, I think it was on the University of Indiana on your baseball page,
it's like
in the bio somewhere. So somebody's mentioned it to you before, but it's just a made up story that got buried in there.
I don't know, man. It's a myth. I mean, it's been a story for years. I haven't heard it in, I don't know, 5-6 years. That's funny you brought that up.
Okay. So you make the major leagues. You debut with the White Sox in 2015, opening day roster, which I imagine super exciting. You play 36 games. You're 25. And then all of a sudden you get traded to the Dodgers at the end of the season. What was that moment like to you when you would come up with the White Sox, drafted with the White Sox, make the major leagues with the White Sox, and then all of a sudden you're getting traded?
I thought it was cool. I mean, it was the Dodgers. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't have like emotional ties to the White Sox or anything like that. It was like, I'm going to LA. And what was crazy was we shared the same complex as the Dodgers.
Oh, that's right.
Like, in Glendale, is that what it is?
Yeah.
And I just remember like it coming up, like always looking over the bridge to Dodgerland, and I was like, yo, that is amazing over there. They got like water, they got like fans. And then when I got traded over there, the first thing I thought of was like spring training, like that whole like utopia they had over there. So I was like, I'm ready to go, let me get my plane ticket.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, it must have been weird too, because then you show up and you're seeing all the guys that you had been playing with the White Sox, like all of a sudden, but now you're in blue instead of black and gray.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the Dodgers had like this. It was like La La Land over there, man. I was like, yeah, like that's where I'm going. I was like, that's all I thought about.
Well, so talk to me about that. I mean, what's life like with the Dodgers? You spent a year there, but you've seen a number of organizations throughout the course of your career. What can you tell us about maybe what it is about the Dodgers as an organization that makes them so successful?
They're just people, man. Just people. Like people, I guess. I don't know how to say it. Like they, from the top to the bottom, it's like A1 people. From Ron Rosen, right? Like me and him still have a relationship to this day. Like, I added nothing on the field when I was with the Dodgers, yet like still working with the foundation, still doing things there. Like, from top to bottom, it's an amazing organization. Like, I mean, I did nothing on the field. Like, for the record, you can look it up. Did nothing, but out of any organization, I'm still very heavily involved with like the Dodgers more than any other team.
Yeah.
Like, teammate wise, I don't know. It's just the people, man.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah.
And your year with the Dodgers was obviously a pretty unique one for a lot of different reasons. You make it up to the major leagues. You spent most of the season in AAA. I mean, are there moments or things that happened in the course of the year that you spent with the Dodger organization that jump out to you that are sort of the first place you go when you think about your time with the Dodgers?
Yeah, for me it was that was a tough year because for whatever reason, right? I have the years I had before. I decent years, but I was behind so many superstars, right? Like Chase Utley came, Howie Kendrick came. Like, I was at the bottom now, and what was really cool, one thing that stuck out to me, and this speaks testaments to the Dodgers organization, is I went off in the playoffs, like in AAA, right? And they called me up, and I wasn't supposed to get called up. They said I was going to go to like Arizona to stay ready. But I went off in the playoffs, and they rewarded me for that time by calling me up to the big leagues.
That's awesome.
And that stuck with me because I was like, like these guys didn't have to call me up. They didn't have to like change their mind. But that, whatever it was, couple week pay, like that meant the world to me going into the offseason.
Yeah.
Right. And then that big league service time, all that, like that was, they were in the playoff. I gotta see Charlie Culberson in person, like hit the walk-off.
That's awesome.
To send us to the playoffs or clinch the division. Yeah, man.
Well, I mean,
that was crazy.
So you touch on something that I've always been fascinated by. I think the Dodgers, sort of from a prospect perspective, are the best, if not one of the best, player development organizations as far as getting a guy from maybe, the starting point in Major League Baseball to being ready to play for a Major League Baseball team. And yet I've always wondered what it would be like for a guy in the situation you just described, 25, playing pretty well at AAA. I mean, you had, you were a prospect of some worth there, and yet it seems like it's great to be a Dodger until you get there, and then once you get to AAA, it's always stacked. I mean, what's it like to be a prospect that's one step below the major league level in an organization with like the Dodgers, where they just are constantly loaded?
I would say if it was any other organization, it'd be really tough. But the Dodgers reward players, and I think everybody knows that perform. Like, they don't care what you are on the prospect list. Like, if they need you for a game, you're going to go for a game. If they need you for a week, you're going to go for a week. Like, that year, like, I saw so many guys go up, like, from, like, Rob Segedin, right? Like, and so that's nothing. You have to just play well, and the Dodgers reward you. They do not care what prospect list you're on.
Yeah, that's good. That's interesting to hear. Okay, so one other question I have to ask you about 2016, because you were on the AAA roster, and this was the year of the Yasiel Puig saga. This is the year when August 1st, he kind of gets told, hey, you're going to be traded or you're going to be demoted, so don't come. Some folks are writing that he'd never play for the Dodgers again. Now, you're the same age as Yasiel Puig at the time. You had obviously probably interacted with him at some major league level stuff, at spring training like stuff. You were one of the best players on that AAA team that he played a bit for in that year. I mean, what was that ordeal like to be around as a player?
I mean, he worked hard when he came down. I mean, that had nothing to do with me. So I was trying to hit, man. I was worried about getting my numbers.
Got it. What's Puig? What's Puig like to be around? I mean, in that situation, like what's he like as a guy? I think there's so much that's written by people that maybe haven't ever interacted with him. Like, what was he like as a teammate, as just a guy that's hanging out?
Did everything else. Did everything everybody else was doing. He worked hard, made plays, and I think we had a great manager down there, Bill Hasselman, and we got things done. And he was great. I mean, crazy talented.
Yeah.
Great athlete. Yeah.
I mean, from that time of the Dodgers, and then we'll move on to the rest. But I mean, were there any other sort of stories or moments that you remember? Maybe a guy that kind of you were excited to meet, or a funny story that took place in your time with the Dodgers?
I do remember like the first hit I got was like in San Diego, and I was sitting on the bench or whatever. It was like I think it was like I don't know. The game was obviously out of reach if I was going to hit. So it was like I come in the game and man, this dude was throwing 107 man with a two seam, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I remember I got a hit, and I thought it was a double because I slapped down the left field line, like defensive. Man, I think the lack of respect for John Jay and the Padres for me at that point was was offensive, man. Because I hit that ball to the line, and I was like, "That's an easy double." Like, I look up, John Jay basically playing deep shortstop on the line, fielded it like an infielder. I was like, "Lord have mercy." What did my career come to, man? I was a threat in the box. Now these guys are playing about 9 infielders on me.
Yeah.
So I picked up the paintbrush.
Love it. I mean, and that was kind of my last question for you when it comes to baseball. I'm curious when someone knows they've got a shot to make it. You spend 2017, you're with the Braves. 2000, you play 18 games for them. 2018, you're in the minors, and that's it. You talked about, hey, I knew this was it from the day that I picked up a baseball bat. On the backside of that, when for you was the moment that you realized, hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't like maybe this is the end. And by the way, you're a guy who made it to the majors with 3 different organizations. So by just about every person alive standards, you had a successful career. But I imagine, like, how do you get to that moment? Is it standing in there and it looks like 107 and the ball's moving all over the place? Like, what's the moment when you realize, hey, you know what? Maybe this is the end.
I never had that moment. I was still doing my thing. Like I was still playing well. I had a down year that year, but I had some personal stuff I was dealing with. And so
Okay.
when the season ended, I realized like that took precedent. So I didn't even think about playing another season because I knew I needed to take care of like myself.
Yeah.
Um, so like I didn't have the moment like, oh, I can't hit or I can't play anymore. It was more so like, I just need to take care of myself
Okay.
for a minute.
Yeah, and that
And
and it
yeah.
leads to the moment now, right, where you're a professional artist, and that's, I think, the big question. I'm sure that you've been asked 1,000 different times when sort of you pop back up on people's radars. It's like, wait a minute, isn't this the guy who played for the Dodgers and the Braves? Like, how do you go? How does somebody go from Major League Baseball player to professional artist? And maybe I'll start by asking. You mentioned on Twitter a story about Adrian Gonzalez and Justin Turner sort of encouraging you in a way that maybe flip the light switch, like, oh wait, maybe actually I can do this. I'd love to hear that story and kind of just how it plays out to go from Major League Baseball player to professional artist.
Well, what they gave me was confidence, man. Like when I, revealed my first painting I did, everybody knows the story probably at this point, but like, they came up to me and basically were just instilled confidence by saying how good it was. And at that point, I had no clue about art. But what I did have was a work ethic that was instilled in me from needing to work really hard to get to the big leagues. Right? Didn't
Yeah.
have like this incredible skill set or anything like that, but I did work hard. Um, so I knew that okay, I'm gonna work hard at art, and when I retired, I knew that was like what I wanted to do and what I enjoyed doing. So I just took that work ethic that I had in baseball and just transferred it to art. And I hung on to the words of like Adrian Gonzalez and other teammates that said like, this is good, this is really good, this is really good. And I just kept listening to that over and over in my head and just didn't have fear about getting my art out there. I just put it out. And I mean, like right now, it's pitch black outside. I'm in the studio. Like I still have an exhibit up, but I'm working because
Yeah.
I have to, like that's what I do.
Yeah. Well, and tell me, so you've got a show with Art Angels. Tell me a little bit, what it's all about, what you're hoping to accomplish with it, the whole deal. I'd love to hear just kind of the backstory of this particular sort of exhibit that you've got up.
Yeah, I mean, this exhibit in particular is really about showcasing young black faces and on these massive gallery walls, and really focusing on this kind of intimate portrait that I've kind of like developed, style that I've developed, and really wanting the viewers to connect with my art in the sense of like maybe their perspective is altered a little bit when they look at my art, or they might think of something differently or see the world differently by looking at my art. And that's what the most important thing about this exhibit is. And I think that, Art Angels in the middle of Beverly Hills, has an exhibit with a black artist showcasing young black kids in this powerful light. Like, my paintings are not small, I got one in there that's 12 feet. Most of them are 6-7 feet. And you cannot not see it from the street in the middle of Beverly Hills. And I think it's just very powerful, and it kind of shows like representation in a sense. Like, here's this black artist painting black kids, and his works being hung in these galleries. I think that's really important, and definitely more so than anything I've ever done in a baseball field, in the sense of inspiring the next generation.
Yeah.
Because essentially what I am is somebody who works hard and has certain passions that I just get hyper focused on and want to be really good at.
Yeah.
No insane talent in any sense of anything I've ever done. It's just I work really hard. So I think that I really want to convey that message to the younger generation, and say, you don't have to be some superstar at any point in your life. As long as you work hard, you can accomplish these things.
Yeah. And obviously it's very personal. Where did the sort of the specifics of this exhibit come from? Like, was there sort of a specific moment or idea or interaction that kind of were like, this is what I want to do, and this is specifically how I want to do it?
Well, I mean, initially it all started like my whole like moment, and it started about last year when I heard, my nephew ask if astronauts could be black, right? So I knew that, okay, at that point, my nephew, who has seen me play on TV, has been to these stadiums, feels like there's limitations to his dreams. So there must be so many other kids out there that feel the same way. So I said, okay, I want to paint these kids and show them that, you can do anything, first and foremost, and there's no limitations to any of your dreams, and especially in regards to the color of your skin. So that's kind of like the message that I said, okay, this is what I'm going to paint. This is what I'm going to want to say with my platform now. And I've been really fortunate to have another platform that I think at this point has superseded my baseball career, to be able to have a redo at doing good with this platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the response been so far?
I mean, I just got a message today from somebody, who was at the gallery and said they were standing in the gallery and looking at the works and seeing, and listening to like me talk about the works, and they said they've never been moved in a way like this before. They felt like I was speaking to them, and like that gave me immediately chills, and like for me that means more than any dollar amount that I make painting. Like I don't care if another thing ever sells. Like, that means to me, like, job is done. Like, that exhibit is a success to me because I impacted just one person. That person, who knows how many people they can go impact. Like, that to me, like, that was like, I don't know, man. That message made me feel a certain way, differently than like when they told me I made the Major League roster. Because I realized the Major League roster, that was for me, my family, that brought me to practices. But this is something I think bigger. Like, this might have a greater impact.
That's amazing. And just before we move on from that, I mean, so how long will your art be up in that gallery? And is there any details that people would want to know if they want to go check it out?
Yeah, it's up until the end of the month, right in the heart of Beverly Hills. You can't miss it, at Art Angels. And definitely go check it out, man. You can go in there. It's just every painting has a QR code that's synced to me talking about the works, so it makes it kind of interactive for people to kind of walk through and listen about the process of making these works or the meaning behind them.
Yeah, love it, love it. And you mentioned, right before we hopped on, that you've got some exciting stuff coming up even this weekend. So what do you got going on in the future beyond the exhibit that's currently up?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that has been on the forefront of my mind is playing on that question that my nephew asked. Was like, okay, how can I take that further? into something that's relatable to that generation, or something that has an ability to access more people.
Yeah.
And so I created this character. His name is Aku, and Aku is this little astronaut boy. And what Aku is a physical sculpture, but also he's a fully like animated character. So what I'm doing through digital art as well is creating this story of Aku going around meeting all these cool people, going to these cool places in pursuit of his dreams. His helmet gives him these powers to travel and things like that, and it's really cool. And I think Aku is a symbol or a character that will eventually be able to have people relate to him from all circles of life, as he meets different people, as he travels around. As you see Aku, in someone's office, like people can have a conversation around what Aku stands for. And one of the coolest things about this whole Aku release on Sunday on Nifty Gateway is our angels, who I'm obsessed with, because they gave me an opportunity to have this platform, right? Like they said, okay, like we believe in you.
Yeah.
We're going to invest in you heavily. It's going to be storing the first Aku ever made, the first sculpture ever made, hand casted, hand painted, in their vault. And they're doing this because they want me to get secondary sales whenever someone sells it. So by using, they sell the ownership in a thing called an NFT. An NFT is basically a digital representation of Aku on the blockchain. So it says, I'm the owner of Aku. But every time someone sells that ownership right, I get a percentage of the secondary sales, which is incredibly important for artists, traditional artists, because how many times have you heard about like a Picasso selling for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? He gets none of that.
Yeah.
By doing this, they're ensuring that I get secondary sales. I think it's really important, because what if Aku goes and just blows up, and Aku's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And the first Aku sells for hundreds of millions of dollars. Not saying it will, but who knows?
Yeah.
They're ensuring that I get secondary sales. It's an incredibly important moment in art.
And so there are physical sculptures of Aku, and those will be available for people to purchase and sort of in some ways interact with digitally almost?
Yep. So there's a physical sculpture. The first 10 will be released on Sunday, all through silent auction on Nifty Gateway. And there'll be more runs of Aku. And yeah, there's a physical sculpture that you can have, and people get that. You have yours behind you.
Yeah.
But also there's the digital version of Aku that is basically just this elongated story and journey, meeting people and learning and kind of like breaking down barriers. It's almost like your physical sculpture coming to life.
Love it. And so Aku, it feels like, will almost be a piece of what you're doing sort of indefinitely. Like this isn't just like, oh, this is what I'm doing for these 3 months, and then we got a new project coming up. It's kind of like this is your story almost.
Yeah, my hope is Aku becomes bigger than me. Like I want everybody to collect Aku. And it's so cool, because I have a lot of teammates have texted me like, how can I get an Aku? Can you reserve me an Aku? And then you have all these other people who are very interested in Aku. And it's just really cool, because obviously he's incredibly crafted.
Yeah.
The physical sculpture detail on it is incredible. But at the same time, it's this little kid with a big helmet sitting on the street block. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's something that everyone relates to. It's dope.
Love it. Sweet. Well, let me end with a few rapid fire questions here, and then we'll let you go. I appreciate your time. Going back to baseball, what was your favorite moment as a Dodger of all the things that you accomplished? You mentioned maybe your first hit. Was that your favorite moment?
Oh, my favorite moment was after that, when Adrian bought the team some sushi place in San Diego, and brought it on into the clubhouse. I never tasted anything like that in my life.
Okay,
like,
there you go.
We had all the sushi. The chefs were in there. I said, "This is LA, man. That's my favorite moment."
Love it. I mean, you mentioned maybe the answer is the Dodgers. I mean, baseball was such a part of your life for so long. I imagine you're still watching baseball and engaging with baseball. Is there kind of, maybe I'm wrong on that one, but do you engage, watch baseball, follow baseball?
No.
Okay.
I watched the Dodgers, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I haven't, man. I haven't watched it. I don't keep up. I'm in the studio around the clock, so like I'm just hyper focused on that. I play my little DraftKings game, and if I do a DraftKings lineup, I'll get in there, and watch the game. But no, man, I don't watch it much.
But it sounds like you are still connected to some of the guys on the Dodgers. I mean, did you reach out to those guys post World Series to kind of check in with them?
Did I? Yeah, I mean, we talked, but we never talked about baseball.
Okay.
Like at this point, a lot of them hit me up and see if I can get some art from somewhere, or art suggestions and things like that. Yeah, I think it might be a good relief for them so they don't have to talk about baseball.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, they probably are looking for people in their life who aren't only about baseball, right?
Yeah,
I mean, as successful as you are art-wise now, like looking back on kind of how your post-college life has played out, like, are there regrets or things you would have changed? Like, do you wish you would have gotten into this earlier? Do you wish anything would have been different about how your life's played out over the past, say, 10 years?
My only regret would be that I didn't learn that home runs were the thing to do. Because the whole time I played, I was stealing the bases, my body get beat up, and come to turn out, that didn't matter. I could have just swung for the fences, man.
Should have got your launch angle stuff figured out earlier in your career.
Right? That is my only regret, is that my neck is so messed up from sliding head first all the time that I could have just tried to hit home runs and been all right.
Yeah, and if you strike out 30% of the time, then who cares, right?
Yeah, man. That's my only regret.
Love it. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Let people know, where can they find you on social media, your website, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Micah Johnson. I don't know my handle on social. Art Angels open until the end of the month. Aku being released this Sunday. You can go to aku-dreams.com to see Aku.
Aku is spelled how?
AKU.
Okay.
Aku the moon god.
Okay.
Dope little guy. Check him out on Sunday, and he's on my social, of course. We need to get Aku. We need to get Aku in the Dodgers.
Hey, let me know. Let me know when that happens. Yeah, exactly.
Make some calls, man.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the guy to help you with that, but well, hey, Mike, I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you're doing. I love the message behind what you're doing. The story of your nephew saying, "Hey, can I be an astronaut?" I mean, it's powerful stuff, and obviously really on the forefront of what's going on in the world right now. So the world's lucky to have someone like you pushing this message. I love Art Angels supporting you and giving you a space to voice that. So please check out Micah's stuff. Again, I appreciate your time, and we love chatting with you. So good luck in the future. And hey, next time you got something going on, let us know.
For sure. Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world.